In order to determine the cost of a product or service or department, whatever your cost object is, you have to allocate the indirect costs. Again, indirect costs are your indirect labor, indirect materials, and overhead. These are costs that are incurred and benefit more than just the cost object that you're looking at. So the way historically companies would allocate overhead is they would use a simple single overhead rate. The single overhead rate, the way management would go about it is they would estimate what they think their total overhead costs would be for a period. Now, I want to emphasize that they use estimates, not actuals, because we can't wait till the actuals come in, because a lot of these decisions you have to make right away, and by the time you get the actual amounts, it's maybe too late. So you can't wait for the actuals. So they'll estimate their total overhead costs, then they'll decide what activity to use to allocate. Now they could use the number of hours that the products take to make, or maybe the dollars of labor the products, and I use plural because again, remember, we're trying to single out one particular cost object from many because these costs are shared by many. So there's different bases or activities one can use. We'll look at this here in a second. In fact, actually, let's look at it now. What I'd like you to do is take a look at 7-2A. And in this problem, where WVU and the College of Business and Economics has an estimated overhead of $3 million. $3 million can consist of the dean's salary, and the dean benefits many departments. You've got the secretary of the dean, you have the office space and all the depreciation on the building and the equipment used by the dean's office. There's you've got also the human resources expenses that are benefiting all these departments. So I think you got an idea of how 3 million can add up very easily. So what we're to do here is to allocate this 3 million to the different departments, but specifically we're focusing on the accounting department. Now, as far as in this example, we're told to use the number of students, which that activity makes some sense to use, the activity being the total number of students. So let's go ahead and do this for the accounting department. So given the estimated total overhead costs are 3 million, you would take your 3 million and then you divide that by the total estimated activity, which would be our total number of students, where we have these four added up together, that equals 300 students. You then get an overhead rate of 10,000 per student. Then what you do is you're going to go and figure out, okay, so how many students does the accounting department have? So when you take that 10,000 and actually multiply it by how many students the accounting department has, you will get the amount to allocate to the accounting department, and they had 150 students. So the amount of the 3 million that would go to the accounting department would be half of the overhead, or 1,500,000, because of the 300, half the students are accounting. So that's 7-2A. Again, estimate your total overhead costs, divide it by the total activity, and then the portion that goes to the object would depend on how much that particular object's actual activity was.